Yo, what is good, everyone? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prodigy Podcast. My name is Tyler Anderson. I am your host. It is Friday night, December 20th, 2024. We're heading into week 16 of the fantasy football season. Actually, week 16 has already started with that Thursday night football game between the Chargers and the Broncos. Surprisingly higher scoring than a lot of us expected, I think. But the touchdowns did not go to the right people for most of us, unless you're in like a 24-team league. I started Cortland Sutton and Stone Smart in my Dynasty playoffs. So not the greatest start for that team, but we have hope. And just for the record, I do have Kyle Pitts in that league as well. A couple years ago, I traded away Kittle and a rookie first for Mr. Pitts, and that has definitely not worked out, especially with Kittle kind of reemerge. He's always been great as a player, but he's been reemerging as an elite fantasy option this year, especially. So that's cool. That's cool. And the team with Kittle, I'll probably have to play at some point if I even make it out of this week, but I digress. It's week 16. It's playoff time. I'm going to give you my starts of the week for week 16. But before we do any of that, I need you guys to follow or subscribe wherever you are enjoying the podcast so that you can stay tuned for the newest episodes, because you're not going to be able to become a fantasy football prodigy if you don't get the content, right? So turn on those noties. If you want YouTube video where you can see my ugly face and my new hairdo, my new mullet, you can head over to Fantasy Football Prodigy on YouTube. And if you're wondering about the mullet, I also have a gaming channel. It's called T Ultra, the letter T space Ultra. We just hit 1,000 subs there. So we had a little sub goal where if we hit 1K, I get a mullet. So here we are. I kind of like it. Might keep it forever. Use this YouTube thing as an excuse to keep the slick back, the mullet look. But anyways, enough chit chat, enough small talk, enough foreplay. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of the episode. I'm going to go position by position across the week 16 matchups here. And I've identified a couple players at these positions that I really like. This is playoff time, so a lot of your teams that are still in it are probably pretty good. I am going to try to give a few lower end options as well throughout this episode, but it's time to lock in. Okay, so we're going to start at the quarterback position. I have 2 starts of the week at quarterback. Okay, we're going to start with Baker Mayfield of the Tampa Bay Bucks on the road against the Dallas Cowboys. Baker is the quarterback 5 on the season, and now he gets a great matchup against the Cowboys in a game that has the highest over-under of the week at 48.5 points. The Cowboys give up the 4th most points to quarterbacks on the season, and they just lost cornerback Trayvon Diggs for the season. The Bucs defense is also terrible, which means the Cooper Rush-led Cowboys actually have a chance of putting up points in this game. And if it becomes a high-scoring back-and-forth battle, that is a great thing for fantasy football, and it's great news for Baker Mayfield. He has his number 1 wide receiver back from injury in Mike Evans, who is looking incredible lately and should feast in this game as well. And on top of that, you can even flex rookie wide receiver Jalen McMillan this week based on how he's performed lately and how good of a matchup this is. The only concern I have for Baker is that the touchdowns come through the running game and not through the air, but there's a chance that there's just enough points to go around for both. Baker Mayfield is a mid-quarterback 1 start in week 16. If you have Baker, there's a good chance you're starting him. My next quarterback start of the week is a duo of players, and they are playing across from each other this week in week 16. We're going to go with Aaron Rodgers of the New York Jets and Matt Stafford of the LA Rams in the same game. I like both of these guys. If you're in the playoffs, you probably have a locked-in stud at quarterback, but if you've been streaming the position, both of these guys are interesting for week 16. This game has a 46.5 point over-under, and I wouldn't be surprised if it hits the over. Rodgers has been up and down this season coming off that Achilles injury, but he's been good the last couple of weeks. He looks in sync with Devontae Adams. Garrett Wilson is still there, and he was the quarterback 4 overall last week against Jacksonville in that game that I told you that I loved Devontae Adams as a start, and look what happened with him. Stafford is always a guy you can stream in the right matchup, Both defenses are giving up points to quarterbacks, so there is streaming potential for both of these guys, for the Jets with Rodgers and for the Rams with Stafford. Both of these offenses also have stud running backs that could eat into the passing production, so you're just hoping that the touchdowns come through the passing game for these guys if you start one of these quarterbacks. Both are high quarterback 2 streaming options for Week 16. Those are my quarterback starts of the week. We're moving on to the running back position. I have one running back start of the week for you guys. I actually have one running back, one wide receiver, one tight end. I narrowed it down this week. These are guys that I feel really confident in. My running back start of the week is James Conner of the Arizona Cardinals on the road against the Carolina Panthers. Conner is the running back 12 on the season, and he's coming off a running back 1 overall finish when he put up 28.3 fantasy points against the Patriots in Week 15. Now he gets to take on the Panthers, who give up the most points to running backs in the entire league and have been a dream matchup all season long. Conner is always in play each and every week, but I think he smashes this week in a fantastic matchup against the Panthers. He is a mid running back 1 start in Week 16. We're going to move on to wide receiver. My wide receiver start of the week, JSN at home versus the Minnesota Vikings. Jaxon Smith-Njigba has surpassed DK Metcalf as the receiver to own in fantasy for the Seahawks. You might be shocked to hear this, but JSN is actually the wide receiver 7 overall in total points on the season in half PPR. Now he gets a matchup with my Minnesota Vikings, who give up the most fantasy points to wide receivers in the league and have been a great matchup for passing games to target all season long. He's got a good floor based on his high target totals, his league-leading 70 slot receptions, and this amazing matchup. And I love him as a mid-wide receiver 2 play in Week 16. We're going to move on to the tight end. Got one more tight end for you guys. One more start of the week. But first, make sure you follow and subscribe if you're enjoying the pod. All right, we're going to move on. Tight end start of the week. Brenton Strange of the Jacksonville Jags on the road against the Las Vegas Raiders. Strange has stepped up in the absence of Evan Ingram throughout the season, and with Ingram out for the year, Strange is the starting tight end for Jacksonville. Last week as the starter, he saw 82% of snaps and an incredible 12 targets, which turned into 11 receptions for 73 yards and a tight end 4 finish overall on the week. Next up on the schedule for Strange is the Las Vegas Raiders, who are a great matchup for tight ends and have given up the 4th most points per game to the position on the season. Stud rookie wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. should feast in this game, but I think Strange can be a good secondary option in the passing game and put up solid numbers for you if you've been streaming the position or if you need a David Njoku replacement if he is out with that injury. Brenton Strange is a low tight end 1 start in Week 16. Those are all the starts of the week that I had written up for you guys. But just like we do each and every week, I'm going to kind of do a quick run through of the DSTs as well. So number 1 on the week, in my opinion, it's going to be the Green Bay Packers. They're at home in Lambeau versus the Saints. No Derek Carr, no Olave, no Shaheed, no Taysom Hill. Last I saw, Alvin Kamara was doubtful. He might even be, I'm going to look that up quick. He is questionable as of this recording. Okay, doubtful. He's unlikely to play this week. He should be considered as doubtful or out. So they literally have nobody. Like, Kendre Miller, he's an interesting running back prospect, and you can maybe play him in a pinch for the Saints. But that offense I don't know if they're going to be able to move the ball. Like, the Packers have a decent defense. They're at home, and the Saints just have nobody. They got no weapons. So the Packers are probably the best start of the week for defenses. After that, I love the Falcons at home versus the Giants. I think Boyle is going to be starting. Last I heard, Drew Lock. They turned back to Drew Lock. Just the fact that I don't even know and I follow football pretty closely just shows how messy this situation is. So I'm seeing an article that says they're going to go back to Drew Lock against the Falcons. So at one point I heard it was going to be Boyle. So, either way, the Falcons are a good start. I'd probably rather go against Boyle than Locke, but Locke is also a great quarterback to go against for your defense. So the Falcons are one of the best DSTs of the week. And then you got the Bills at home versus the Patriots and a rookie quarterback with Drake May. That's a really good play as well. The Bengals against DTR, the Browns, who they just benched Jameis Winston. Winston is good for some turnovers, but I don't know if DTR can move the ball. So the Bengals don't have a good defense, but last week against Will Levis, they were really great for fantasy. So this is a similar situation where the quarterback play is just bad enough where it might not matter how bad the defense is. And those are probably my favorite streaming options. You have the Vikings, who are a great defense. They're on the road against Seattle. Geno Smith has been hit or miss. So sometimes they're a guy to target. They're a team to target, but after that, those are my favorite starts. I would say the Colts against the Titans is a solid one, because they're going to be starting Mason Rudolph this week over Will Levis. Last I saw, so still a great matchup. Will Levis might be more prone to turn the ball over, throw some pick sixes, but Mason Rudolph is not going to scare me away from starting the Colts. So those are probably my favorite streaming options of the week, with a shout out to the Vikings as well, because Skull. And then really quick before we head out, ladies and gentlemen and jellyfish, we're going to review our starts of the week from last week, because I think that's important to do so that we can see what went well and what went wrong. So I'm going to pull up my finishes here. Okay. So last week I made Justin Herbert a start of the week at quarterback, and that was not necessarily the best call, not necessarily the worst call. So what I said was, he is a start of the week for me if Ladd McConkey plays, and he did play, and Herbert still was the quarterback 17 on the week according to Fantasy Pro scoring. So not what you were hoping for. How did he do against Denver last night? Of course. So, okay, he plays the Bucks, does terrible. And then he plays the Denver passing defense, which is pretty solid. And he puts up over 20 points. Almost 300 yards, couple touchdowns. I mean, that's just classic fantasy football. Am I right? Other than that, Bo Nix was my other quarterback start of the week. He was okay. He was the quarterback 14 on the week. I was hoping for more, but he didn't completely sink your week, but definitely disappointing. So our quarterback starts of the week last week were not great. And part of the thing too is I'm not trying to give you guys obvious, I'm not going to tell you to start Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is an each and every week starter this season, or Josh Allen. So I'm trying to find guys that are a little more questionable, right? And speaking of questionable, Chuba Hubbard. Hey man, what is your problem, bro? The last 2 times I made this guy start of the week, he's completely been a dud. A few weeks ago against the Bucks, I made him a start of the week. He did nothing. He was awful. Put up 2.3 fantasy points. Then a couple weeks later in week 15, the following week against the Eagles, a tough run D, he puts up 18.7 points, running back 9 on the week. I don't make him a start of the week. And then last week against the Cowboys, a dream matchup for running backs, I make him a start of the week, 6.9 points. It was better than what he gave me against Tampa Bay, but still, I don't know. Maybe I should just stop making him a start of the week, because I think I might have a curse with him. But yeah, he was a running back 35 on the week. Although I made him a start of the week earlier in the year, and I think he did well. But anyways, I digress. My other start of the week was in the same game, Rico Dowdle, and that actually did work out. He was the running back 12 on the week with 14.9 points. So we love that. I also gave a little shout out to Charbonnet and Rachaad White if the starters were out. So Charbonnet got the start. He was the running back 15 on the week with 13.1 points. So that was solid. Rachaad White did not start. I don't remember who started, but Bucky Irving was active. Rachaad White was the running back 15 on the week, though, so he was still a solid play. He's a guy that you can just flex every week pretty much. But yeah, running back 15 on the week, 13.1 points. He was really solid. So our running backs, other than Chuba Hubbard, were good calls. And then this is the big one. Devontae Adams was my one and only wide receiver start of the week. He was the wide receiver 1 overall on the week. He had 38.3 points, 198 and 2 on 9 receptions. I have a TikTok that I post some of these segments to. And you know what's really cool is the only player I posted last week was Chuba Hubbard. And if I could have posted like anyone else, I would have been better off. I thought about posting Devontae Adams, but yeah, thanks Chuba. And then TJ Hawkinson was my tight end start of the week. 7.7 points. I mean, not terrible, but tight end 14 on the week. 5 for 52, 7 targets. So, you know, you could do worse as a tight end, but not great. So anyways, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Or listening, I should say, if you're listening to the audio. Please make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you enjoy the pod so you can become a fantasy football prodigy. And good luck to everyone this week in the fantasy football playoffs, except your opponents. And I'll see you guys in the next one for the championship. Peace out.